it's pretty critically important to send people to St. Paul who aren't just ideologues going with some ideology that they worked out and they're intransigent to changing. I think it's important to send people to St. Paul who are willing to relate to other people from the other party and actually get something done.
Democratic Visions is produced by volunteers for DFL Senate District 42.
Welcome to Democratic Visions. With us right now is State Senate candidate Ron Case, who, when he's elected this fall, will represent all of Senate District 42, which is Eden Prairie and the south half of Minnetonka. Welcome back, Ron.
Thank you, Tim.
Ron is a dedicated and responsible public servant and is in the middle of a fourth term on the Eden Prairie City Council. He's a longtime loved and respected educator in the Eden Prairie School District. We followed Ron from the precinct caucuses and the DFL District 42 convention last winter to the launching of his campaign earlier this summer. If elected, Ron Case will provide Eden Prairie and South Minnetonka with its first effective voice in the Senate in years. When you knock on the door, do they know who you are as a person in their fourth term on the City Council, or is this a process of you having to reintroduce yourself and then selling yourself as a state Senate candidate?
I would say the average person on the street could not name the council members today, and so I don't walk around a known entity. That being said, I've had 3,000 students probably in my 31 years of teaching in Eden Prairie. I don't know what the number is, but every 10,000 or so that I knock on a door, I have some connection there, and they know me, and that's been real gratifying. And I guess sometimes I wonder if I shouldn't have given more A's or something, so maybe. For jobs, it's really frustrating. I mean, what do we want them to do?
Now you're going door to door. What are they telling you as to the core issues of education, for example? What are you hearing out there?
Many people have their core issue, whatever that issue is. I would relate back with people at the door that it's pretty critically important to send people to St. Paul who aren't just ideologues going with some ideology that they worked out and they're intransigent to changing. I think it's important to send people to St. Paul who are willing to relate to other people from the other party and actually get something done. I think the perception when I go door to door is that that's not happening these days, that there's so much pontificating going on that we're not getting enough done.
Based upon what you've just indicated, I presume you feel that you are one of those people that can work across the aisle. And what in your background leads you to the conclusion that you can do that? You've mentioned the work on the City Council, and I think that's important. Is there anything else that comes to mind?
Well, I am a very relational person, and as a teacher, that's been my strength, I believe, in the classroom is rapport and even working with parents. And not that a degree in psychology gets necessarily one to become relational, but I have a master's in psychology and my doctorate's in leadership, and I just believe deeply that relationships are the core of really all interactions between humans, particularly that solve problems. And I think we forget that in St. Paul we have real people sitting down at a table solving problems and relating in real ways, and I believe I'm able to do that. And I don't demonize the opposition, and I applaud communities that send Republicans or Independents or Democrats to St. Paul. They are the ones representing the people, and we need to all work together for the good of everybody. And I think I can do that.
Well, I know, Ron, that you've served on multiple commissions, committees, and task forces. Give our viewers some indication of what service was provided by those various groups to to this area.
I'm currently the chair of the Southwest Cable Commission, which manages this facility that we're sitting in tonight. I've served as treasurer of the Southwest Metro Transit. I've been the chair of the Suburban Rate Authority, which is a 37 community organization that looks out for utility management issues. Countless, I think I added up one time, 16 or 17 task forces and commissions I've served on, from tree preservation policy to senior issues task force. So I'm interested really in anything that directly impacts individual people, and particularly then the issues of transportation and the environment.
Well, let's assume you're elected and you bring that facilitative attitude over to St. Paul. Where are you going to concentrate your skills and interests?
With my education background, I would love to be involved somehow in K-12 or higher ed educational issues. I would love to be involved in some environmental issues. I think the really wonderful opportunities that are confronting us today in our economic environment are to look at the environmental concerns we have and with the need for green technologies, and combining that with the goal. I think Clean Water Action has predicted that by 2050 it is possible that we could become totally energy independent in the state. So to combine those two initiatives, recognizing that there are jobs to be created in that, so it's kind of a win-win-win scenario if it's done right, and I'd love to be part of that discussion.
But you walk into the Capitol over in St. Paul and you've got a big trap, and it says $6 billion deficit.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? How would you, as a legislator, hope to cope with that kind of problem?
Well, the deficit is the elephant in the corner, and it has to be dealt with. And again, I guess stealing from all three gubernatorial candidates, and including others that have dropped off since, I don't think there's any way to solve that by either all new taxes or all cuts. I think anybody that would say either one of those is being disingenuous. So clearly, however, we're going to need revenue increases. I think it's important to look at tax reform. It's very important to have it be fair. I think that's what Mark Dayton is at least talking about. Whether he's chosen the right path exactly, he's still talking about fairness. So we're going to need revenue increases. I think anybody that would say that is not being an honest politician if they were to say we couldn't or that we can get by without new revenue increases. Obviously, we're going to need to look at some cuts, but I think the cuts can be through efficiencies. I know it's an easy thing for people to say that's somewhat of a cop-out, but there are places to save. There are ways to look at bonding, though we have to be very careful with our debt limit. So realistically, we've got to have some kind of shared sacrifice, truly, where we raise revenue. And everyone may have to participate in that scenario.
Is that another way of stating that you'd be open to looking at an increase in the state sales tax or a broadening of the state sales tax?
You know, I am a strong believer in the Democrat principles within our platform. And I think we have to be really careful with some of our taxes that we don't punish the people that are least able in our society to afford that, which is regressive taxes. So
but of course, you can get a series of credits built in, can't you?
Absolutely. You could do a sales tax. Part of the problem with the sales tax is some of the estimates are as small as $330 million that it raises, and on a $6.8 billion deficit that, in truth, with inflation, might be $7.5 billion. I've heard estimates horribly as high as $8. You're not going to solve much with a sales tax, but a sales tax may be a negotiating piece in a package, of a compromise package that has some tax increases on one end and sales tax. Again, I think on some level it may be fair to have everyone participate as much as possible, but nonetheless with the goal that we're going to enhance our economy actually by removing this this debt that's hanging over our heads.
Would you be in favor of paying off the IOU that the state of Minnesota owes to the school districts in this state?
Absolutely. And that's not the way to manage our budget. By deferring payments and actually causing some districts to borrow money. It's really within the major issue, I think, that Governor Pawlenty has gone around the country claiming that he has cut taxes or at least held them stable, which is very untrue because the taxes have simply shifted, and then that's disingenuous to say that taxes were not raised at a state level.
When you're elected, you'll be representing all of Eden Prairie and the south half of Minnetonka. Give me just in a nutshell the differences, if any, between those two communities.
Well, every community has its own unique identity and its personality, and I would say that the type of people and the warmth of people and the family-centered people are really have a lot in common between the two communities.
Ron, my observation is you're going to bring a very open mind over to the state capitol and you're going to try and work through the problems over there. Ron, good luck, and we'll see you later.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Democratic Visions is produced by volunteers for DFL Senate District 42. Norbert Gurnis, Chair. Democratic Visions can also be seen on our website, dflsd42.org.